Okay guys, here I am working on the bike again. I see this mess down here. I'm going to straighten all them wires out. Those two gold looking things are load resistors for the signal lights. Basically, if you got an old system, you can put on load resistors in the wires to cut the juice down because the LEDs don't take as much to run. I watched a YouTube video, and just for my taillights are a different story too when you're running LEDs, because most incandescent lights could take dual voltage and draw a lot of juice. But so what you do is, see how my taillight's working there, and then I hit the brakes, it brightens up. What I did was I was still able to use both the hot leads, but what you do is you come off, you find your running light, which is the red one on this particular case, and then the blue one is when I hit the brakes, they brighten up. Okay, but you can't run two hot leads to LEDs, so because you always have to have the ground. So what you do is you actually, I don't know if you can see it where it's together here, but what it is there's the blue wire and the red wire actually attach right here. But what I did was individual on either side, each wire coming out. On the red one, I ran a resistor with a diode. On the blue wire, you just run a diode. So basically, it's holding the juice down, which keeps your lights dim. And then when you hit the brakes, the diodes actually allow the other wire to work, and it gives it full juice. So that's why they brighten up. Okay, now the signal lights. I have two in the back here that aren't on at this particular moment. They work if I hook the incandescent bulbs up to the front, because then it's drawing enough juice. They work. Well, when you switch to LEDs up front for signal lights, it's not pulling enough juice, so it comes to what they call a dead stop, acting like you got a bulb out or something, and everything just like stays there, doesn't do anything. So these little gold things I've been waiting on, that I bought on eBay, they're called load resistors. I don't even know if I'm using the right wattage, but it's supposed to work for almost any bike. So basically, it's just this gold thing, and then what you got to do is you got your hot and your ground, and you put a hot to this one and a ground to that one. That's it. And then you hook it back up. And then what that'll do is they get hot. That's why they got the little fins on there. And I just so happen to have this little 2-bolt section back here, and I found a piece of steel I had laying around, and I made it match right up to the holes, and I lifted it up with a couple nuts, and I found longer bolts, and I happened to have everything, and then I drilled holes and hooked them down. So I'm going to hook this up, get the signal lights working front and back, and then I'll show you, and then I'm going to tuck all these wires in beautiful and put them in a cover, and I'll zip tie them down, and you won't even see them as much. So that's what I'm going for. But I got all this here, I mean, that's a little excess wire, so I'm going to cut that down a bit and get it all tucked in and get it in. I got a little piece of black corrugation from one of my snowmobiles. I think I'm going to put some silicone in all the 4 holes I drilled to get the wires out, just to keep them from moving and rubbing against the steel. That'd suck if, you wouldn't have any taillights because you rub through on the side here, but that's what I'm going to do, and then I'll update you and I'll show you everything working. I got an aftermarket Chinese headlight and got the wrong mounting bracket, but I'm hoping I can use the light somehow, maybe get another, worst case, I'll just get another bucket or something, and then maybe I'll even switch to the fork LEDs instead of having it in the headlight, but that's where we're at for now. My risers are still too short. I had 45s that was hitting the tank. I use straight drag bars. It's better, but it didn't cure the problem. I've been waiting a month now already for new risers. They're an inch longer, so hopefully we'll get up above and not hit anything. It's really just the cables here hitting, and I got to, the 1-inch bars, American made compared to the Chinese original. I had to take a grinder and shim these down because, like, see how this one's moving? It's not because the bolts aren't tight. It's because it can't clamp the bar for some reason. So I take this cover and I shaved it flat, and I got to shave a little more, and then it'll clamp tight to the bar. But I just got my mirror fixed because that was cross-threaded when they sent it to me. Bunged all the threads up, wouldn't even grab onto anything. So now it's fixed. I tapped and dyed it, and got some of my chrome accessories on, but we're getting there. Put on a new horn because the other things sound like a dying goose, but we're getting there slow but sure. I went out and bought it today and bought a new small glass bead machine, and I started doing parts. A few hours. There was several layers of paint on the side panels. I mean, this tank's probably going to be hell, so that's going to be a while to strip that. And then where they had the factory, there's a big chrome cover here, and it had your gas lead. Down here they had a tack and something else, you know, on your gas gauge and a tack. It's just big and bulky, so whoever I got this off of, they just got rid of all that. But it leaves this little nub here, and then there was 2 tits in the front that actually held bolts, and they cut those off and tried filling them in the best they could. But you know, there's a little dent here, you know, and we got to strip all this old paint off. This was just paint I was goofing around with, and then my brother-in-law is actually going to do a really nice job. I did it to figure out what kind of lines I wanted to run, but and I made a new fender, the shorty that you seen on the last time. But I'll get this wiring buttoned up and I'll set it back on and show you the difference. I finally got the correct seat in, and it's beautiful. But I got the side panels ready to go. They got a plastic outer housing that I got to work on. That over there is a radiator grill sitting on that piece of cardboard over there, and we got to get that sanded down. Then the rear fender's in the glass bead machine. I got some body filling to do on that, where I grounded a little cockeyed. Then I got to make a seat pan to hold the bobber style seat. I got the springs and everything. You know, it'll probably be just above all this stuff here. But what I'm trying to do is, because you know, when you mount a bobber seat, it leaves an exposure on the edge, and you can see all the wires and shit, and I really don't like it. So I want to make some sort of seat pan or just some little outside trim cover, you know, here and for. If I have to run a bar from here to here that's kind of flat, I can add a couple more LEDs for the brake lights. They got some pretty cool ones down at Advanced, and it would actually pulse in and out, and that would be right up behind the seat. So that would be pretty wicked, even though I got the nice little ones that you really can't see. But I'm going to button this up and I'll get back to you. Alright.